Hello everyone, welcome to Plenty with Sulo. Today our guest is Rienzie Martinesz. Hi Rienzie.
Hi, Sulo.
This is just an informal discussion.
Okay.
Rienzie, if I ask you to tell us who you are, actually about a self-introduction I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, so that's a bit of a tough one to answer, but yeah, let me say what I think may be appropriate is that yeah, I would say that I'm now self-employed.
Okay.
So I'm using all what I learned in the past in my personal and professional life to take the next few years ahead. And I don't live in Sri Lanka anymore, but I live in Toronto, Canada. But all what I've learned in the past through my professional career, I'm trying to see how I can connect Sri Lanka and Canada in many ways. It's not just the business side, but also in terms of people. So that's where I spend a lot of my time, and so that also helps me to set up a company in Canada. So to sort of seeing the opportunities available from both sides, from Canada and Sri Lanka, to connect them and to help people to do business and stay in touch between Canada and Sri Lanka.
Yeah. So I know you are a cricketer, right? So actually your career was built by cricket, or cricket was built by your marketing career? How was it?
I think cricket, I think is a very pertinent question, and if you ask me that, I think there's some relevance in terms of cricket and my life. Cricket has helped me to build my character, so to answer your question in many ways, how did I select cricket when there are so many sports available during my school career? How do I select cricket? I can't remember. Maybe everybody was playing cricket and I thought that I also must play cricket. So I started from like under 12, and a long time ago. It maybe because everybody was playing cricket, and maybe I used to play cricket when I was like 5 years of age, with all the friends around, may not be the hard ball but softball. So that helped me also to start getting into play cricket. So selecting a cricket is also may have helped me in terms of looking at in the business, the personal life as well as in professional life. Then getting into the side, selecting cricket is one, getting into the side is another. It's very competitive. A lot of people want to play cricket, so getting into a side, it is very competitive.
Yeah.
So find a way to get into the side was a challenge, which I think has helped me in my personal and professional life later in the day. Then stay in the team.
Yeah.
Getting in is what, but stay in the team because everybody wants to do best. So that also helped. And also, as a player, you have to be a team player. You have to work with the team, and that helps me too, right? And as individually, I have a role to play. And I predominantly played as an opening bowler, fast bowler. So every time the coach or the captain gives me the ball and say, okay, now you need to deliver. So I had to ensure that I perform. So it's individually how I performed. That too has helped me as being a player, as a team, as a team player, as well as an individual player. And comes to the last one, where the behavior in on and off field. That also helps, because when you become a cricketer, to some extent you're a celebrity. People recognize you, people look up to you, and then so you have to be mindful of that, and you got to. Not that I said that I behave well, but it was. I've been mindful about my behavior, so I didn't want the youngsters or the juniors who probably look up to me as a role model. That I always try to behave well in front of them, so that they also may have followed the footsteps. So to answer your question, yes, certainly cricket has helped me, and I meet today many. I have met many professionals, business people at very high level, which I wouldn't have had the opportunity of meeting otherwise. But because of cricket, I have been able to meet with them.
Yeah, I agree with you when you say your behavior, because I'm working with you very closely, and one of the most disciplined person I have met. I have to tell you that. So I think cricket has built you who you are into a behavioral and your character. When you look at the character behavior, do you see that same discipline is with new generation of the youngsters who are playing cricket?
Honestly, Sulo, I wouldn't know because I'm not associating many junior cricketers. I had not been involved in cricket per se in terms of with cricketers, but there was one stage I was involved in cricket administration with the cricket board, being head of the heading the sponsorship and marketing committee of the cricket board for 4.5 years. So that level, of course, we help, but I wouldn't know that. But there were a lot of people have been saying that current day the discipline of the people, youngsters are not great. But I believe there are among them there are good people and bad people. We too had in our good old days. So, but today I'm talking about like 30-40 years ago, and now I believe there were a lot of changes that has taken place. Yeah.
So I see a lot of cricketers become marketeers. What's the connection between cricket and marketing?
I think there's a lot of connection. For you to become a marketer, you definitely has to be a team player, and also to as an individual, you have to also to perform, which maybe it is across all professions that may be appropriate, but for marketers, the other thing that I see is that you need to have a high ego and also your empathy. Yeah. So as a cricketer, you need to have a high ego, right? You need to win, you need to perform better, you need to do better than the other person, and the empathy, and think alike, as a team, which everybody gets together play. So I think those two sort of qualities are built in most cricketers, and that helps you to become a marketing. And today, I believe that when you are a cricketer, maybe you have to spend at least your 90% of the time. Yeah. Of course, during my time, it wasn't the case. But when you spend so much of time in cricket, maybe you have less time in studying, pursuing, which is like traditional, becoming a doctor or a lawyer or whoever at a high level or in terms of your career. Maybe they don't have that opportunity or the time of opportunity to study. So then they probably think of getting into either sales or marketing, and then make their career in sales and marketing and become at a higher level in a marketing when they are ready to retire or when they are at a mature age. Yeah.
Now you do a lot of marketing sales training for Sri Lankans well. So do you think now, since you're living in Canada, how do you see, because you always say the Canada environment is completely different to Sri Lankan career market. So how do you see the international market for Sri Lankan people who are doing because we are exported oriented country. So, but I don't think we have got the Sri Lankan exported brand properly in the export world. So how do you see that we should change our export marketing in Sri Lanka?
Yes, I think if I may answer this question, Sulo, there are certain brands that have established well in the global market or in the international market, and they worked hard towards it and building their brands. But overall, your comment about the many others, they haven't, mainly because that probably they didn't have the muscle to negotiate with a distributor or a buyer in overseas to get their product in. So however much you build your brand locally, and you find it difficult when you're getting into the international stage. So for you to get into the international stage, then it's a different kettle of fish. different approach, different strategy, and maybe it's because it's knowledge, or maybe because of resources, which I also think is the knowledge is also considered as resource as far as I'm concerned. Maybe that they didn't have that, or they don't have it right now to establish. But I know there are so many good brands available, particularly the Sri Lankan spices, the cinnamon, I think, and our tea. And just Ceylon tea is our brand, but there are so many brands that can get into the market, not just a few brands that are available there. And our spices is another brand another product that can get into the world market and build their brand.
So, since you're living there in Toronto, how do you see Sri Lankans are doing in Toronto, especially in Canada? Because many times when Sri Lankan migrate, there is a blame coming from Sri Lankans that they have migrated, they have forgotten, but they are commenting on Sri Lanka much, sometimes negatively, sometimes positively. I just want to know how they are doing in Canada as Sri Lankans.
I think most of the Sri Lankans are doing extremely well. I could say that, and it's easier when you go to a country like Canada when you're young, not when you're old like me, and because you have your future ahead in terms of building your career, and they're doing extremely well, and most of the people are doing extremely well. And some people probably need a little bit of a push in terms of building their confidence. That's what we are there for as seniors, to do that. And it is happening. And to answer your question, I would say most of the Sri Lankans are doing well.
Compare, because you have lived more in Sri Lanka more than Canada. How do you think that Sri Lanka need to change? Because I think ethnically, gender-wise, Canada is much far ahead compared to Sri Lanka. So because Sri Lanka, the gender-wise, ethnically, we are still backward. How do you think that Sri Lanka should go forward with just a Sri Lankan brand, not on like being an ethnical brand, but a Sri Lankan brand?
I think it's again a very serious question to answer. When you say Sri Lanka as a country, as a brand, the political scene comes into play, right? An economic factor, the socio-cultural factors, and the political factor. So I think building Sri Lanka's brand overseas failed miserably because of our political scene. We hear a lot of negativity, and that stops us building our brand. But when it comes to in terms of our habits and attitudes and the good qualities the people have in terms of building relationships and being nice to people, and I think Sri Lankans stands ahead of many nations in the world. But when you're talking about a country per se, I think the political scene drag us down tremendously.
So I know, because I have been doing the Women in Management, and you took it to Canada, and it's 3 years now you have been doing the administration and recognizing women, and that battle goes on with you and me also sometimes. How do you see that Sri Lankan women doing there? Because you are the person who's eye-witnessing their success, their failures and everything, and their branding. And after you build that brand there, I see more Sri Lankan professionals coming back to the country and ready to give back. So how do you see that connection has positively given back to the Sri Lankans there?
Yes, I think it's we need to build a conduit to connect the Sri Lankan Canadians and Sri Lankans, maybe in the same field, maybe in the terms of same thinking, or the same age, or whatever, that there's something that can be common to connect them, and we are building that in very well, and I would see going forward in the next 3 years, there'll be engineers to engineers, architects to architects, doctors to doctors. They will start working through our conduit, they will start building relationships and networking. And that will help them to share their knowledge and maybe even start business together.
Yeah.
And I see that it's happening. And we don't have to wait till somebody else does that, or waiting for the chambers or the government to do that. I think we have a right path that we have created. And you saw that how several people have started using this opportunity to build relationships. So networking, and it's happening.
And you actually took a step to get Sri Lankan, as you said, Sri Lankan brands, to introduce to the Sri Lankan brands to Canada, especially through Sri Lankans, some of the Sri Lankan made brands. And being, sometimes it's, as you said, you didn't wait for the government or someone to do it. You took the liberty of getting it. So do you think that if Sri Lanka really make connection with the right people, Sri Lanka can enter into an international market without being in a big company or big organization? Still, the small manufacturers also will have an opportunity in the international market?
Yes, I think if they look at the traditional methods of getting into the market, they will miserably fail.
Yeah.
As I told you earlier, they will not have the muscle to negotiate with a distributor or a buyer in Canada. But if their product is good, and if they know what in terms of the quality of the product, what they need to do is to get into the households of Sri Lankan Canadian. And that can be done through probably online. And once the product gets into the household, and if the product is good, I mean, they will have a continuous buyers, right? They'll have a continuity in terms of their business. And once they get in and build about maybe 2,000, 3,000 households start buying your product, then your brand is established in Canada. So they can use the maybe Sri Lankan Canadians to get their brand into their households, and then from there they can actually look at the other categories, like probably Indians, maybe the South American. There are so many other, I would say, the communities are ready to buy the Sri Lankan products.
So finally, Rienzie, I would ask, what is your advice for Sri Lankans who are looking to go to international market? Maybe they want to go as students, maybe they want to go as business people, maybe as professionals. But have they, they look at Canada or any international market as a threat or some challenge. And when someone sees our passports, Sri Lankan passports, it doesn't have that, I would say, the pride we used to have. So what is your message to Sri Lankans? How can we get back that pride? Because whenever we try to enter Europe, the passport itself gives us a negativeness. As you said, maybe the political reason, or maybe it's something. How do you think we should rebrand ourselves in an international market, whether as students, whether as professionals, whether as businessmen?
I think this question about carrying the Sri Lankan passport, Sulo, has been is coming up in various forums. But as a Sri Lankan, I used to travel a lot with the Sri Lankan passport, but I had no problem anywhere. Probably I didn't look at others as sort of high level or low level or whatever level, and I didn't expect them to look at me also. And I probably try to compete.
Maybe you were a legend at that time,
No.
and you were working for a multinational companies, and you had a background. So maybe it's not same for you and to others. So I'm just saying, because I do understand. Yes, when you are a cricketer, no one will look at you. When you are working for a multinational company, no one will look at you on that way. But I'm asking for because a lot of common people are struggling with the Sri Lankan passport. So I want you to, because you are a brand builder, you are a marketer, and you are gone to international. How do you just some tips for people to rebrand themselves while the country is so low?
Yeah, so I think it's expectation and delivery issue.
Okay.
If you are expecting a lot while having, which you call the Sri Lankan passport, probably you may not be getting what you think you want. So you have to, that's an expectation and the delivery. But if you want to be somebody, a global consumer or global customer, or you want to move around like I did, then of course you have to find ways and means of going and establishing yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm a dual citizen, so I always tell I'm a Sri Lankan, and as maybe certain situations I say I'm a Canadian too. So getting to that kind of situation, I think what you probably need to do is to find your right avenue. And if you are qualified academically as well as professionally, and if you have got experience, you probably can go to Canada. There are different avenues in terms of immigration. You can go there, establish yourself, and start helping the country, or come back and you can establish. So there is an opportunity available for youngsters who are just after A-levels. They probably can go and study there. If you feel that you need to get the North American exposure in terms of your the higher level of education or your post-secondary education, you can go there and study. There you can do your masters, you can do your diploma programs, you can do your degree. If you want, you can come back, you can work there, get that experience, come back. Then you are a different person. Then you are I would say a global Sri Lankan. So those opportunities are available, and Canada is a lovely country for somebody thinking in terms of establishing your future. Canada is a good place, and I'm not saying for you to stay back in Canada, but you can come back, or you can be in Canada and help Sri Lanka, or you can come back to Sri Lanka and raise the bar, bring Sri Lanka to a certain level.
Yeah.
Then your passport will be accepted anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rienzie. As Rienzie said today, that it's about your personality and it's about building your own brand. And sometimes it's not about where you come from, what you are taking with you that matters. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.